This episode is sponsored by Music and Cigar Podcast, a podcast where you can sit back, relax, and enjoy a nice cigar. As your host, Eddie Roy, sit and discuss music and cigars with special guests. This podcast can now be streamed on all major platforms, so visit your favorite podcast site and listen today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Music and Cigar Podcast. I'm Eddie Roy. On this show, I interview and discuss various rap and R&B soul artists as I delve into reviewing a diverse range of cigars and their brands, even sitting down with other music and cigar connoisseurs. So let's sit down, light a cigar, and discuss music and cigars. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Music and Cigars. I'm your host, Eddie Roy. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. She's known throughout the cigar world for her beautiful personality. In the cigar world, she will be considered as an SOTL, Sister of the Leaf. Her passion and love for cigars motivated her to create a lifestyle brand. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to introduce to everyone from Toronto, Canada, Miss Lady Cigarillo.
Hi, Eddie.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on to the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
So, before we get into this interview, can you tell the people what you decided to bring and smoke on the show
today? So I'm smoking one of my favorites. I'm smoking Oliva G, the G series. It's a Toro size, so it's like 6 by 50. The wrapper is African Cameroon. The binder and filler is Nicaraguan. Nicaraguan tobacco is my favorite tobacco. So this is one of my favorite cigars. So I figured today is the best day to smoke this. What about you? What are you smoking?
Well, today I'm smoking the Nica Rustica Adobe Toro. It is a 6 by 52 ring gauge. It has a I want to say Habana wrapper.
Yep.
With a Jalupe filler. And nice. I don't know. I can't tell you what the binder is. I think it's I want to say it is Nicaraguan, I think. But it's a pretty good cigar.
I feel like from the description, it might have like kind of coffee, like sort of creamy kind of notes to it. Yeah. Just by what you're describing. Yeah. Right. Not peppery, not peppery, spicy, more rich like that. Yeah. That's my profile. That's the profile I like.
You know, that's what I usually like to smoke. I honestly prefer something like a cedar wood type of taste. I like Connecticut a lot. I can do more Maduros, but I do enjoy smoking a nice Connecticut. My favorite cigar or Connecticut cigar I would say is the Leaf by Oscar Connecticut. But this particular cigar, this particular cigar is not a bad cigar at all. I mean, especially for the price point, you definitely get your bang for your buck.
Nice. I like the Leaf though, but I don't know. I think that's the one that comes in the leaf, right? He wraps it actually in the leaf. Yeah, I like that. Right. I've had that one only once. That actually is quite delicious. Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty cool that they wrapped it in the tobacco leaf.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what you call it? Now I will say that to people that don't know, are new to cigars and you're trying to get them the cigar, I wouldn't suggest pulling that out first because they're gonna be like, hey, no. I don't know. I ain't signed up for this. I don't know. You know, the wrapper look a little iffy.
It does actually. You know, it's funny because but I had it like I think a couple years ago. Even myself, I was like, so I'm unwrapped. I'm like, I'm not supposed to smoke this. Like, what is happening? But then when I got it, I was like, oh, this is a brilliant concept. It's really good though. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Really cool.
So let's get into this interview. I've been looking forward to interviewing you all week long.
Me too.
And I I wanted to know, based upon your cigar collection or selection
Mm-hmm.
that I see you post on IG.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into cigars?
Oh no, it's such an interest. I mean, I don't know how interesting this to other people to me, but so I come from a family of cigarette smokers. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I sit back and I think about the fact that I smoke cigars, it's just wild to me because, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and everyone in my family smoked. Like both my grandparents, my mom, my aunt and uncles, and all the time like we lived together. So my house was like just waves of smoke. And I
Mm-hmm.
might have tried cigarettes like once, and at 13, I was like, no, I'm not into this, right?
Right.
But in 2016, there was like a rum and spirits festival downtown in my city, and there was like a little like they had like a little stand, and it was Mambucho cigars at the time. I think sorry, Mambacho. I think I'm saying that wrong. Anyways, they had a stand there, and I was just kind of curious. And the first cigar I tried was a cigarillo, the cigarillo.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe 6 months later, I went to Trinidad, which is where I was born here, but that's where my family's from. And I went to a
Mm-hmm.
day party, and then they had a cigar stand there, and I was like, you know what? I kind of remembered, back 2016, I dug it. I'm like, let me try one here. I had a Robusto, and yeah, and it kind of started from there. And then maybe 2 years later, I met a girlfriend, and she smoked, and we said, we're like, hey, you like cigars? I like cigars. And then it
Mm-hmm.
kind of took off from there. And then, when I had to think of a name, it seemed like Lady Cigarillo was perfect because it was my first cigar.
Well, you know what? That's interesting. I'm glad you said that to clear that up
Yeah,
because when
yeah,
I think of cigarillo, I think about think
yeah.
about yeah,
Tiny, petite.
you know what I'm saying? I think about THC. So I was like, okay. When I see the name on Instagram,
Yeah,
I immediately thought I was
yeah.
like, oh, she got to smoke weed.
Yeah,
She got to smoke weed.
I get it. I get it. But a cigarillo is a small little, like a burrito, like a cigarillo, So I mean,
Mhm.
it's fitting.
I
Yeah,
like it. I like
yeah,
it.
man. Yeah,
Uh, when when I first got into cigars,
yeah.
it had to be about uh it had to be about 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And I just remember smoking Black and Miles, like it was
Mhm.
a thing, like, on the package itself, it did say cigars. So
Mhm.
that was the closest cigar that I got since I was maybe 25 or 24.
Correct.
I'm
I
33
get it.
years. I'm 33
Yeah.
now. But yeah, I remember smoking a Black and Mild one day, and I was like, man, I had it with this. I the taste doesn't do nothing for me. I don't know why
Nah.
I'm smoking. At this point, I'm just smoking them to just be smoking them.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so I wanted to try something new. I was anxious. I went into a cigar lounge. I didn't know and have a clue what I was looking for. I didn't know what
Yeah.
my palate liked. I didn't know what
You
I
just
liked.
you just knew you
I
were
was
ready
just
for some
new. I
premium
was just
for
new.
premium tobacco. You knew it was time for some premium tobacco.
Yes, yes.
Right.
I definitely knew it was time for premium tobacco.
Yeah.
And so I think the first I want to say the first cigar that I've tried was it had to be the H. Upman Banker. And that was a good
Yeah.
cigar.
Yeah.
It wasn't too strong for me. And
Yeah.
when I
It's pretty mild.
immediately yeah, it was pretty mild. But when I
Yeah.
immediately hit it, when I drew from it,
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And then just the feeling that it made me feel. I'm like, man, I feel
Yeah.
good smoking this cigar.
Yeah.
I was at a nice lounge or whatever. So it was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I've had so that's H Upman USA, because obviously we have Cubans here. So
Okay.
when I started really smoking, like seriously really, taking up the hobby, I was smoking H Upman, but Cuban H Upman, but the petite Corona. And it still holds a place in my heart because I'm like, that was the one that was probably the first time too that my palate could distinct different like tastes, because sometimes even up to now, like sometimes you smoke and it's just like, all I taste is tobacco. I'm not tasting all these complexities that people talk of. But yeah, but I
Mhm.
like H. Upman. But the banker was good. Like I remember getting that last time I was in the States, and I think it was a Gordo 6x60. It was a big one, but
Yeah.
I like the banker. I do like the banker too.
Yeah. I like
Hmm.
the history. I definitely like the history behind the banker. It actually started
Yeah.
it started off, I think, with two brothers, and I think I
Yeah.
spoke about this in my previous videos. But
Hmm.
it for those that are just tuning in, the H. Upman brand started with two brothers, and
Hmm.
they went into, I think, the Dominican, and they had a business, they had their own bank, and they wanted to complement the customers that will come into the bank. And by
Yeah.
doing that, if they have votes and large amounts of money and stuff like that, they would gift them a cigar.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
they would gift them a cigar.
Nice.
Now, what being an SOTL, what does it mean being an SOTL amongst
Hmm.
other BOTLs and SOTLs? We hear a lot of talk about, the brother of the leaf and sister of the
Brother
leaf. But
sister
when you go
leaf.
to a lounge and you're around other people
Yeah.
that smoke cigars, what does SOTL mean to you?
Well, here's the thing. Like here, we don't have cigar lounges, right? So our country, our province is pretty much smoke free. However, I mean, being a sister of the leaf, it's like you're part of a family, you're part of a global movement, you're part of like it's like a clique that that people are like like-minded people are interested in the same thing that you know what I mean? And
Right.
it really does feel like community based. So like, when I started and I was going like traveling abroad to like, I was going by myself because none of my close friends smoke cigars.
Hmm.
And I just kind of met people just by, just showing up and meeting people in IG. And, that's the great thing about smoking cigars is like, I made all these connections through the leaf. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah, it really does feel like that. Like, I feel like, so when I go places and I know my other people that live in, like, if they live in Chicago or Dallas, whatever, like, I feel like we've known each other forever. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
especially like Sister Alive, like, more women these days are smoking cigars than ever
Hmm.
before. And in some
I
places,
think that's very cool.
yeah, and in some
Yeah.
places, like, some countries, like, for you in the States and other countries, it's more visible, it's more prevalent. And not only are they smoking cigars, I know a lot of women that have lucrative businesses, like black owned businesses, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And otherwise, in tobacco. So it's really a dope thing to be part of, for real.
I think it's a pretty dope thing being
Mhm.
a brother of the leaf,
Yeah,
because I can relate to you when you say it's more
absolutely.
like a brotherhood or a sisterhood. When
Yes.
you can go into a cigar lounge, when you're in the States, you can go and you probably experience this.
Hmm.
You don't have to know anybody. And then you just go when you go
Anybody,
to and you
anybody.
don't have to know it. You go
Yeah,
to a cigar lounge and you don't know anybody, but y'all have one thing in common.
that's it. That's it. And
You
and
know,
and the thing, and
and
I think the
at least
misconception is
one thing.
sometimes too, at least one thing, and just like
Yeah.
why you're here, right? Just
Yeah.
just what brought us together here. And
Mhm.
and sometimes I think the misconception, I don't know if it's a misconception, but I think at first when you're smoking, you can be intimidated that people are going to ask you what you're smoking or look at how you're smoking. And I've always said to people, nobody really cares really what you're smoking or how you're smoking, because you got to learn some way,
Right.
and everybody, and even, I mean, that's all. I mean, other than basic cigar rules, it's all like you do it however you want to do it, right? But
Mhm.
you get to meet people of different walks of life and what they do for a livings, and then yeah, maybe it'll come up, what are you smoking and have you tried this and that. But yeah, it really just it really makes me feel at home. It really is like my comfort spot to smoke, to be quite
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
It's a comforting thing when you walk into a cigar lounge, because you're there to relax. You don't really
Yeah.
talk about turning up at a cigar lounge. I
No.
don't know
No.
if y'all use that terminology in
We
Canada,
do.
but
We do. We
okay.
do. Yeah. But I'm gonna
So,
lie to you. I've been to cigar lounges in the States, and I don't
yeah.
mind a little bit of turn up. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
mind that. And only because I think too, because I don't have the opportunities to smoke in the same way um here as I do there. So when I do go away and I travel, I'm in a lounge, like I'm like, oh my God, I'm inside and I could smoke and I don't have to hide this, and we're all smoking and we're free and the music's going. I'm like, it's like it's like the best thing for me, right?
Good little vibe.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
vibe.
It's a good vibe. It's a good vibe for
Good
sure.
vibe. So
Yeah.
let me ask you. So let me ask you this: with Canada
Mm.
being so strict on tobacco,
Hmm.
I recently looked online and on IG, and I saw that you hosted a event. Can you talk a little bit about the event and what it was, what you had to go through, a little bit behind the scenes? You don't have to go into detail too much, but
Well,
how did you swing that in Canada?
well, here I would say you have to be, for cigar smokers, we have to be creative, right?
Yeah.
But I was just lucky enough to meet some wonderful people that allowed me, to have an event. I went to have an event for women, and I made sure, like, I had it during Women's History Month. And
Hmm.
I knew, like I said, like I have close friends, but they don't smoke. But I knew friends of, women that maybe smoked or had an interest in smoking. Maybe they smoked with their partner,
Hmm.
and I kind of wanted to make just kind of have a space where, women could be comfortable smoking if they're not regular smokers, and do it outside of the male gaze, right? Because that could
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
intimidating sometimes.
Right.
Um, and it was a cool thing. Like my first event, I was like in the evening, and I had like 19 women because a friend brought a friend. And we
Hmm.
had talked about a little bit of cigar history. The cigar roller, she's a woman too, and she's fantastic. And
Wow.
she's just a joy. Yeah, man. Yeah, she's Cuban. She's Cuban. She lives here. She works for a reputable cigar company here. She's a great lady. The people who own the space are great people, and yeah, usually here we have to get creative. You know what I mean? Like we can't normally, you can't post where you are. We ask that you don't take pictures
Very
because,
discreet.
it has
Very
to be very
discreet.
discreet. Yeah, it has to be very
Yeah.
discreet. Like, you don't want public health to come down on you and the establishment and stuff like that. So that's kind of like that's like the downfall for us. You know what I mean? Like we can't just really, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's done, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
done, it's gotta be done kind of like in a crafty way, right? So,
Right.
but
But it's
yeah,
cool.
hmm
It's cool that you're able to host those type of events, be
yeah,
discreet, and
I
enjoy
try.
something.
I
Enjoy
try.
doing something that you love.
Yeah, man.
Um,
I met, like, like a few of the women now. I can say that they're now sisters of the leaf now,
yeah, yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's pretty cool. And I met some that online, but we didn't get to meet in person until my event. So that's pretty cool. And we're lifelong friends now. So it's cool. Like it's cool to have a community of women now that I can say, okay, like, I can light one up with them. You know what I mean? But I'm also comfortable smoking with anybody. Like I'm accustomed to also a lot of times being the only woman in the room, and
Right.
you
That
know
happens a
and
lot. Yeah.
yeah, and I think when you're a cigar when you're a female cigar smoker, when you're a sister leaf, you're kind of you get that, right? Like, so it's either you want to smoke or you don't want to smoke. So you got to be comfortable where you're at and in your skin, and do your thing.
I always
Hmm.
like to say, this saying, and it's something that I just made up, but smoking cigars and listening to music is not just a brand that I have, as
Hmm.
you can tell, but it's a lifestyle.
It's a
This is something
lifestyle
that you do
for
when
sure.
you I can pretty much do this every day.
Every day,
Come home from work, working
every
my
day.
9 to 5, and
Yeah,
then just sitting back, listening to some good music,
that's right.
smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
Especially after a nice meal,
Yes.
a good cigar after a nice meal.
I know. I
Oh,
sometimes smoke without eating, but when you eat, like, it's just so satisfying. You got to eat first really well and then have a cigar. It just hits differently for sure. And then
mhm,
with music for sure.
for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What would be your favorite pairing with cigars and alcohol or pairings? Like what do you like? Do you drink coffee? Because I tend to drink,
So funny.
yeah.
Well, this is what I'm pairing now. I rarely drink alcohol with my cigars, although we know that goes hand in hand. But I
Okay.
am drinking a cream soda,
Okay.
which is kind of a go-to for me. I'm usually like
Yeah.
I'm a cream soda, Dr. Pepper,
Oh, I love that pepper.
which both of those I discovered during the pandemic just by watching videos and stuff. Um, but if not that, I am Coke, I am coffee, I'm a chai tea. Like I'm not really a big drinker anyways. Like I do have a really nice little bar cart, but I'm not really a big drinker,
Hmm.
and I kind of like to experience one thing other than the next, right? Like
Then alcohol.
I'd rather taste the tobacco than than the alcohol. Like I don't like the alcohol to get in the
Yeah,
way of that. So
I can
that's just
understand that.
me. Yeah. But yeah, it's cream today. It's cream soda.
Um, I like to I would say when I smoke my cigars, it depends on what time of day it is. If it's a morning cigar,
Mhm.
if I having something like a Macanudo latte espresso
Mhm.
cigar, I'm going to go with a latte, like a hazelnut
Mhm.
latte.
Yeah.
With
Creamy.
some good
Something
creamy with
creamy.
it, something
Yeah.
that complements the cigar.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's so funny because the terminology pairing itself,
Mhm.
when I first got into smoking cigars, I was like, well, now what the heck is pairing? Because
Yeah.
that's a different thing. But now it's, getting into cigars for those that are just tuning in,
Mhm.
we have Miss Lady Cigarillo here. But pairing is just another way of saying, what would you
Goes
like to
with
complement
it.
and go with it? It can
Absolutely.
be
Goes
water.
along with. Yeah, for
Yeah, it
sure.
can be
Yeah.
water, but
Yeah. Yeah.
just having go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like wine. Like you know how they have like wine pairings, right? Like
Mhm.
this meal, like like if you're doing like a I don't know, like a pasta, Alfredo or something, right? Like if it's like a cream sauce, you usually go white wines. It's kind of like pretty much the same concept. But I gotta tell you, I mean, maybe I should pay more attention to that because I don't really think about that much. I think about more what I want to be drinking
Mhm.
more than what it's gonna go well with. To be quite honest with you, like
Right.
I'm usually, and not only that, like I have Crush, I have a Kit Kat here, like I I have like a whole I
You
have like
got
a
the whole
whole
snacks, and what type and
I got the whole like I'm ready to go. Like
you
I
got
have
the whole
everything.
setup. You just prepare.
Absolutely.
You are
I don't
ready.
right. Yeah, I don't think about like, oh, that's not gonna go well. Like I don't care. I'm just like
Right.
the most important part to me is the smoking and I'll
Mhm.
work everything else. I mean, I'm sure if I paired it with what they consider appropriate things, it might enhance the flavor better. But I'm
Right.
easy. Like I'm easy. I'm just like, I'm just like I gotta smoke.
That's cool. That
Yeah.
is so cool, man.
Yeah.
I like I said, when it comes down to pairing, I'm still I'll still call people or ask um the tobacconist at the cigar lounge, hey, what do you suggest
Yes.
I have with this
Mhm.
particular whatever I'll bring with me to the cigar lounge? Because at one particular cigar lounge that we have here in Huntsville, Alabama,
Mhm.
you can bring your own bottle. So,
Okay.
you can pretty
Nice.
much you can get away with bringing anything as long as you ain't. I don't know how he swung that.
Yeah.
Most cigar lounges that I went to, when you want to pair something, they selling it to you.
True.
But they're
Yeah.
not. This particular cigar lounge allows you to um
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because
bring your own bottle.
usually you might have to. They're gonna want to at least have maybe a stick minimum and or at least a drink minimum kind of thing. I would assume.
Right.
It's a time. Yeah. Yeah.
Taxation without representation.
I mean, it is. I mean, if you're gonna sit down and smoke here,
You want
you
to sit
got. You
out
know
and
what I
smoke,
mean?
you're gonna have to pay something.
You're gonna have to pay some. Exactly. Right. I get that. I get that.
so
Yeah, man.
so now that we to transition over, I would like
Yeah.
to talk to you about now that we're on going into cigar lounges, and I know that it's limited in Canada, but when you
Mhm.
visit in the States and
Mhm.
places that you can visit, go to
Mhm.
cigar lounges.
Mhm.
What um I find that most oftentimes cigar smokers listen to music,
Mhm.
while they smoke cigars.
Mhm.
Uh, I know what it does for me when I smoke cigars.
Mhm.
When I smoke cigars, I listen to my music, but um, you go into a cigar lounge, they're playing jazz, they're playing
Mhm.
R&B soul, they're playing
Yeah.
hip hop.
Mhm.
Um, what's your take on that culture right there, on the cigar culture, when we just bring we they play music like that inside cigar lounges?
I love it all. I love it all. Again, I don't come from a place where there is lounges to begin with, right? And I
Right.
also don't come from a place, respectfully, where a lot of cigar smokers look like me, right?
Hmm.
Like
Right.
like black, right?
Right.
I have a couple friends here now, and I'm seeing more, but we don't have it the same kind of cigar culture like like you do in the States, right? Like black cigar
Right.
smokers and
Right.
and women. So for me, and like for me, that's like heaven to go to travel in these spaces, like with people that look like me, right?
Right.
Talk like
Yeah.
me, act like me, like we're like minded, not only because we smoke cigars, but just like culture. Like I love,
Mhm.
it's great to smoke here, but every now and again, I like to cross the border and and really just like really the environments that look like me. So I mean, to hear that, to see that, like that, I'm in my element. Like I'm in
What
my element.
I know
Hmm.
what it does for me
Hmm.
when I go into a cigar lounge and they're playing Nas or they playing
Hmm.
Erica Badu or they're playing
Hmm.
I don't know any music soul child,
Yeah, yeah,
any artist that's just a laid back artist and they playing that
yeah,
that type of music. I appreciate that because that's what I listen to at home.
yeah.
But
I
at the same
Yeah,
time, it's just the vibe. You're gonna have a jazzy
yeah.
type of feel to it. But what type of music do you listen to when you smoke your cigars at home privately?
Well, I mean, I've been in love with hip hop since I was 14 years old. So I listen to a
Mhm.
lot of hip hop. So I do appreciate like R&B, jazz. I'm even like I've been in my 70s soul bag
Yeah.
and my 70s rock phase also too because it's reminding me I'm having real like thoughts about like things that I heard when I was growing up and stuff and I'm really digging
Mhm.
that too. But I listen
Mhm.
to a lot of hip hop. So and I listen to so like even on my page like the songs that I'm playing are represented. They're not necessarily like songs in the background of whatever I'm posting. They're not necessarily
Right.
like the new song on the reel that everybody's playing. They're songs I'm
Right.
either listening to currently, heard
Right.
yesterday, bring back memories. Like there's songs that I play regularly. You know what I mean? And that can go
Right.
from, yeah, it can go from like you know De La Soul to Nas to Audio 2 to Slick Rick to I love a lot of trap music. I love Future. Like
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
discriminate. Yeah, like like I love the lounge, the cool stuff, but I love one of my friends says, "Yeah, you like ghetto shit." I'm like, "I do."
Hey,
I,
I
I
love it.
do. I do.
I
I go,
love trap
if that's
music
if
too.
that's what you want to call it. Like I like to
Right.
smoke. Like I like it to sound heavy, and I smoke heavy, and it just
Right.
puts me in a vibe. There's some songs I hear, I'm like, shit, like this cigar needs this song or this it puts me in a mood. Like it puts me in a mood. You know what I mean? Like it's heavy. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
I love that. Like I love that. And like yeah, that's just pretty much it. I play what I like.
Mhm.
I'm not following any kind of influencer whatever. You're getting what you're getting because that's just me. You
Right.
know.
When
Mhm.
I when I listen to music, probably I would say when I smoke my cigars, I really like to listen to a lot of old school 70s music.
Yeah. I'm really feeling that
Like the
lately. Very nostalgic.
stylistics. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
stylistic
Yeah.
Isley
The
Brothers.
Isley Brothers.
Curtis
Yeah.
Mayfield is
Yeah.
the man.
Oh, it is. I
I'm
think it
your
depends on.
mama, I'm your
I
daddy.
I feel like it depends on what mood you're in
Yeah,
that day, though. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I feel like it
yeah.
depends on them. Like again, just like cigars, music is a
Mhm.
mood, right? It's a
It
mood of
takes you
what are you feeling today. You know what I'm saying?
right. It's
Yeah,
like a whole time machine when you listen to
it
music.
is. It
You
is.
can you
And
if you want to go to the 90s, go back to the 90s when you want to
absolutely,
hear
yeah,
some Pac or some Biggie or
that's right.
some,
That's
you
right.
know, you
Yeah, and when you're smoking, that's the whole point. You have time, right? You've taken out
right,
the time for this particular activity, right? So
right,
it's like hand in hand. Like you got to think about it. You've created a mood. Like you could be having a long day, and you're like you said today, you had a long day, and you just want to come home and smoke. So you've
oh
even
yeah,
before you started, even before I started, we've
yeah,
created this kind of feeling that we know we want to have and we know
right,
that we're guaranteed the cigar is going to give us this feeling
right,
and music is
right.
the same thing. You know what I mean? For
You
sure.
know, it's so
Hmm.
crazy because you could be having a long day, and when you come
Hmm.
home and you enjoy a cigar, all of that went out the window. You can think
All of it.
about the
All of
past,
it.
the present, the
Yeah.
future, what happened
Yeah.
that day, what's going on, what's
Yeah.
going to happen, and I'm telling you, I love it. I really enjoy it.
Absolutely, absolutely, I love it too.
Speaking of culture, while we on music, I wanted to
Hmm.
ask you, since you're from Toronto, Canada,
Yep.
I gotta ask. You know where I'm going.
I think I
What
do. I don't know. But
what's
ask me, ask me.
what do you think about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef? What was it? What were y'all thinking in Canada? Like, what would you thinking as a Canadian? Like, this
Well,
is getting ugly. Like, what you think?
I feel like first of all, this is how I say it. Listen, both of these people are above my pay grade, so it's really none of my business what
Yeah,
rich people argue about.
yeah.
Um, you know, but I will say this, like I know, and I've seen in comments, and it's hard to really, especially as a Black West Indian person from Canada, Toronto. Like most of us have come from the West Indies, right? Our backgrounds are Trinidadian, Jamaican, Grenadian, Guyanese, whatever, right? And that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And and even like so I know there's a lot of talk about Drake changing accents and style, which is true, and he thinks he's you know got like a little London. Like I gotta tell you, with young kids, that's Toronto slang. So really, he's not pretending to be anything. Like the average kid, a lot of them 17 and up. That's how they talk, like saying stuff like crody and whatever. Like it's a Toronto slang, and
What
Toronto
is a
slang is
crody? What in the world is crody?
it's like but it's English, it's UK, it's like your homie. Like you know what I mean? Like and I guess unless a
Oh,
young kid's gonna tell me differently when say, what's up, crody? Like you're right. And a lot of it is a mashup of West Indian slang, UK slang, Toronto, right? And again, it's just basically wherever you grew up. So he's not necessarily embodying something that he isn't. Like that's just Toronto in general. You know what I mean?
that's their
Because they say, oh, he
culture.
thinks, yeah,
Culture.
and he thinks like Jake is Jamaican. Like I'm not Jamaican, but there's terms that we use because we grew up that are Jamaican. There's terms you use
Right.
as a Trinidadian or Jamaican. Like it's just that's just what it is. So I
Right.
mean, that's one misconception I could say, like, but you would have to be from Toronto to know that, right? So that it's not because he linked up with UK rap stuff. Like that's how they talk. And if you hear them talk, it's wild. Some of them you're like, what did these kids say?
So
But
do they have
you
like
know,
an accent to it, or they switched up the dialect
I
like he
feel like
did, kind of like it?
people think, and again, until I travel, I know like I have a Toronto accent, like the
Right.
way we pronounce things.
You definitely do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But but Jamaican has an accent, so certain way things in the slang you're gonna pronounce it differently because you're gonna pronounce it with the Jamaican sound to it. You get what I'm saying? Or like
Uh huh.
that's just really what it is. That's probably the most basic way I can explain that. You know what I mean? But if you're from here, you just know that, right? Like no one's saying you think you're so and so. That's just what it is, right? Some of these kids talk, like I said, I don't even know what they're saying, but it's just certain things that are just, you know what I mean? It's just language. It's just language. But you'd have to be here to know that. You know what I mean?
So he didn't know. So you think that Kendrick Lamar really just he probably knew what he was saying,
Mm,
was trying to pick him,
I
but he
don't
really
know.
didn't know what
I
he
don't
was
know.
doing.
I've seen on a lot of podcasts and blogs, a lot of Americans feel that way, and I
Uh huh.
also think, I mean, I get me wrong, hip hop culture is stemmed in American culture. I get that. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And I know there's a lot of, and I get it also gatekeeping to keep the culture because we should. I feel like in Black culture we need to gatekeep a little bit more, but that's a different
Right.
story altogether. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but I think it's just an easy pick because he's honestly, I really just think because Drake is Canadian, that's why it's an easy
Mhm.
pick, right? But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, he's been at the top of the game for like, 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, really and truly. But I don't know, like I said, it starts to get messy. I mean, Kendrick songs are good. I can't, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you
Mhm.
know what I mean? But I mean, I'm from Toronto, so I mean, it's gonna
So you
be
got to
still.
represent Ken.
So
You got to represent
it's
Drake.
still gonna be Drake every,
It's gonna
all
be
time, every
Drake.
time. Sometimes, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I remember
But
when
again,
Drake first
above
came
my
out on
pay
the
grade.
scene. Yeah. Right. Look, I'm trying above mine too.
Right?
Hey, I'm just a critic. I'm just a
Yeah,
listener. That's all I do. I
that's
listen,
right.
but I
That's
feel
right.
like Kendrick. I feel like Kendrick had him on a few songs, and I feel
He
like Drake
did.
had him on a few songs. So
He did. Drake is
it was good for the hip hop culture.
it's hard to overlook sometimes, but yeah, it's good for the culture because I mean, culture, it's just beef, right? As long as it doesn't go any farther than that, that's just what
Right.
it is. It's a battle. Like that's what it is. You know what I mean? And you go back and forth. You know, so however you feel about it, you feel about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, it's all good.
I want to go into this sponsor message if you don't mind.
No problem.
This episode is sponsored by Music and Cigars, a show where you can enjoy entertaining topics and conversations about music and cigars. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more can be purchased at musicandcigarsmerch.com. Please support and show love to the brand. Now, I'm going to ask you just a few more questions because I know that time is of the essence, and I really appreciate you coming on to the show and showing me some love and support. But I have to ask this: which event that you went to cigar so far, of festivals and lounges that you've been to so far? Can you talk about like what's the best festival that you've been to so far?
I've been to 3 specific ones, like, and there's tons across the U.S. Like, there's tons,
right?
But I've been to Houston Cigar Week twice. I didn't go this year, but I was 2022 and 2023. I've been to I was just in Chicago a few weeks back for Chicago Smoke and Sale, and that was nice too. I wish I was there longer because Chicago's a beautiful city. And I've been in my very first one when I went by all places I go by myself. My very first one was Atlanta Cigar Week, and that was in 2019. And they're all good because all cities have their own itinerary. But I must say, I really enjoy Houston, Texas, a lot. It's just the itinerary. I think this year, I could be wrong if I'm counting right. I don't know if this was their 4th or 5th year this year, but the itinerary is tight. Like, there is just multiple things for you to do in the day. I mean, I think it runs, I don't know if there's just Monday to Sunday, or Tuesday to Sunday. I normally come up for the weekends, and there's like Sister of the Leaf Spa days. There's like ladies' night. There's golf tournaments. There's a concert, and most of them kind of have the same kind of like things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, there's a concert. It's usually like a last day kind of party, and it's just a good time. And in between that, there's also like there'll be like lounges where you can smoke. Like, so after major events, there's even like a Domino's tournament. You go to the lounge after that. There's like, like they have different lounges that are kind of like sponsors, throughout the whole week, and it's really a good time. Houston, I think when I was in 2023, I think they said over 10,000 people were there.
Over 10,000?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they have a lot. Yeah, it's really a good time. I went to Chicago Smoke and Sale. It was their first year this year, and it was, and it was lovely. I was only there for like less than like 48 hours. They had a yacht party. Like, it's just nice to like experience these different things that can be done. You know what I mean? I haven't been to Atlanta back, but I'm hoping to go. I was trying to go this year, but I'd like to go back next year because they do it different too. But there's a lot. There's a lot to choose. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that in Dallas is having Dallas Smoke Fest in November 6th to 10th, and I'm actually an ambassador for that. So I'll be in Dallas in November. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I almost forgot.
I might have to go to Dallas.
You got to go.
I might have to go to Dallas and show you some love. I've never been to a festival before, so I wouldn't know what to start. There's thousands of different types of cigars, and I imagine hundreds of different type of festivals to attend. How do you know which ones to go to?
I don't. Like, so when I started, like I said, I went to Atlanta. Like, again, when I started smoking, I didn't even know these things existed. I didn't even know this Black culture existed in this way. I kind of like it just kind of popped up in front of me. And so when I went to Atlanta, I was like, well, my friends have smoked, but I want to go. So I went, and in that space, I actually met some people that I met from IG, like from Instagram, and and then we kept in contact, and then a year or two later, like I had more followers. So then by the time I went to Houston, I knew more. I went used it by myself, and I knew more people there, like that I met in Atlanta, or like. So I kind of, and then I just kind of they just tell me like where to go or where they're going next. So by the
Mhm.
time I've been in Chicago this year, I've gone with my friends that I've met up. They live in Dallas. I've gone with them. You know what I mean? But we met up in Houston before. A couple of my
Mhm.
friends live in Chicago, so it was there. So it's kind of like just I guess ear to the ground. But from what and Chicago also just had Chicago Cigar Week, which is different from Smoking Sale, which from the
Uh-huh.
pictures that looked fantastic too. So I guess
Uh-huh.
it's just really, like I said, I started out by myself, but really kind of just asking people like where they're kind of going, if you know people, or like I would, if you have a friend or your partner or whoever who smokes with you, it's great to go with someone. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
just, but yeah, but the cigar community, even in the IG community in that space, it's been very welcoming. Like it's been very like so when I travel out by myself, I don't
Right.
feel alone because I know we're all and all these places also they have like a host hotel, so you don't necessarily have to venture off and go find a place to stay. Like they'll give you like a host hotel and they'll have like maybe like a discount booking, and sometimes they'll have like events at the hotel, like Houston does that. So it really makes it convenient, and most of the like entertainment or whatnot is usually in the same kind of like kilometer, we say kilometers, radius, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it just makes moving around quite easy, like during your time there. So I would say Dallas, of course, in November. I
Okay.
would say
Okay.
Dallas. And I would say for real, again, I know there's many others. But for me, like Houston Cigar Week, the two times like has always fulfilled my cup runneth over. And I met two friends, like I met them in Atlanta when I was there for the 48 hours. And my first time I went to Houston Cigar Week, I didn't even realize they lived in Houston until they just knew. They're like, "You're here." I'm like, "I am here." I'm like, "You're here." I'm like, "But they
Oh,
live
that's
here."
crazy.
So it's been yeah, man. It's been a beautiful thing. So now I have friends in Houston, right?
You
So
have
yeah,
friends everywhere.
I don't know. Like I don't know, but I try. But you know what? I try to be friendly. I'm open. Like I said, I know I'm coming by myself, and I know I'm coming in spaces that are kind of foreign to me. But I really love meeting people, and in this culture, it's really been a blessing to be quite honest. It's really been nice.
I
Hmm.
imagine it is.
Hmm.
I really want to experience a a festival. I've heard
Hmm.
nothing but great things about them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I said, if you're in the like I feel like I'm still in the beginning stages
Yeah.
sometimes because I
That's fine.
haven't experienced a festival.
That's
But
fine.
I
I mean,
did lounges and everything. But I've been doing this.
yeah.
I've been smoking cigars for 4 years, and I still feel like a beginner.
That you know what? That's just you don't have to go to festivals though to make you feel like I said, I tell people like you're an aficionado no matter how long you smoke, even if you started yet, like as long as something's your hobby, like that's it. But
Uh huh.
festivals are just a good experience. But you know, as long as you enjoy cigars, like that's really that matters. Apparently, there's a couple other. My friend tells me, I think there's another one in November too. I don't know if it's Orlando, but it's another big one. Um, but yeah, I just did kind of like Google searches, and especially on IG, like when you start following people, you'll see other things pop up, and they start following you. And so IG's really worked well in that kind of space for me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't even know these things existed, and like I said, I didn't even know Atlanta Cigar Week was a thing. I didn't know cigar weeks were a thing. I didn't know there was black people in that kind of way
Right.
smoking the way they smoke. So it was kind of
Exactly.
like I was like, what? I just stepped
Yeah.
into this. Like, what's happening
It's
here?
like a whole another world. You
It
stepped into
was.
a whole another
And I
world.
was like, oh, I like it here. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
man. It's been
So
it's
do
been a
I.
yeah, it's been a dope ride. It's been a dope ride. So yeah, I really enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah.
The last question before we wrap this up, I
Hmm.
wanted to know, and I just wanted to ask you this question. If you could smoke with anyone in the world, dead or alive, and listen to music, who would it be?
You know what's funny? I've been thinking about I knew you asked me this. I've been thinking about
Yeah.
this question all day and I don't have an answer. Like
Mhm.
I've been thinking about that, like because really and truly, I like smoking alone to begin with. I
You like
really
smoking
do.
alone?
I smoking alone. Like I like smoking with people, but I really like smoking alone. And I was just trying to think. No, and it sounds so. I'm like, well, I can smoke with them as long as they don't talk. Like,
Right.
Let me
Talk
know
too much
talking.
at that.
Yeah, not too much. But dead or alive, I've a couple people that I know like in the industry that I've seen smoke. I'm like it'd be pretty dope. Like I would like to smoke with Nas because he's got his own line of cigars, and I like
I
his
haven't
cigars.
tried this.
Right,
Yeah.
and yeah, the Escobar.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you tried it?
I've tried it. It's good. I tried the
Okay.
Escobar Maduro. I like that. It's
I
a bit
haven't
more
tried it yet.
peppery than I but it's got nice smoke power, and I love a lot of smoke.
Okay.
Um, one of the people that came in mind was Cam Newton.
Oh
Cam Newton,
yeah, Funky
Cam Newton.
Fridays.
So
Yeah, I got to
Cam
smoke with that
Newton,
brother one good time.
Cam Newton, in Atlanta, he's actually got a. If you want to talk about lounge, he's got a beautiful lounge in Atlanta called Fellowship. It is like a steakhouse. It is beautiful. It's exactly what
I
you
didn't
think you
know
could
he had
smoke.
his own lounge.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's called Fellowship, and
Wow.
it's a staple. Like there. So that I think about Cam. I don't want to smoke a lot of cool people. Like you know what I mean. Again, people I don't think will talk a lot, but just you want to be in their presence. Um, yeah, I don't really know. Like, but there are people in the industry that I'd like to meet. Oh, you know who would if I could say that, and I've had the
Yeah.
opportunity to smoke with them. There's a lot of Sisters of the Leaf that I admire, stateside that I got to meet. Like I met her aficionado and sisters in smoke. Ben Willis, I met them, and I would love to like smoke with them because they're like real, I guess, pioneers in this space of Black women really just taking this thing and running with it.
Mhm.
Like again, like I would think probably more opportunities to smoke with people that look like me. Then that's why I like to travel. And that's why I like to have women events, and that's why I like to see when I run into the few Black women or women of color smoking. I'm like, that's pretty dope. But that's all I can think about. I don't know. Like Cam comes to mind, Nas comes to mind, but really, honestly, I like just. I hope you can hear me because my AirPod just died.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just like. I like smoking by myself and talking to the sky. You know what I mean?
I like smoking to myself too because it's almost like my me time. But
Yeah, it
if
is.
I
It
had
is. Yeah, like
if I
because
had to choose, go
mm,
ahead.
yeah, like it's my me time. So it's not really. I don't really. It's cool to get together and smoke with people, but I really just like you said, it's my me time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I had to choose to smoke with anybody right now, it would probably be a few. I got a few people. Nas would be
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
Um, I would say Busta Rhymes. I know he smokes cigars. I seen him on Drink Champs
Mm-hmm.
one time, and he was smoking a Gurkha cigar. I'm
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
really a big, I'm not really a huge Gurkha fan. I
I'm not
smoke
either.
them,
Yeah.
but I'm not really a huge
Yeah.
Gurkha fan.
Yeah. Whatever.
Another person I would like to smoke with would be wow. It would probably be with I know he probably doesn't smoke, but it would probably be with somebody like, well, no, I take this back. I take that back. Jordan, Michael Jordan. I would
Yeah.
definitely smoke with Michael Jordan. I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't say too much around him because
Yeah.
I mean, just because because you kind of get the feeling like Mike because
That's
you've
right.
seen him over the years,
That's right.
and he
That's
probably
right.
wouldn't want you to talk as much. But I'll probably ask him a few questions
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
smoke with him.
And that's
I
the
think his
thing too.
favorite cigar.
Like I'm trying to think of because there's some people you see smoking, but like I got to remember, do they smoke in real life or are they smoking because they're like if they're an actor, right? So I'm just trying to think of
Right.
who else. But yeah, I think Cam, and I saw Cam at Houston Cigar Week in 2023, so that was pretty dope. He was in the same
Okay.
area, so in real life he's a big man. I was like, oh, that would be pretty dope to really kick
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty. I think Nas would be my because it would fulfill right. The music, the hip hop, and
Right. Right.
cigars, right? So his cigar is like it's like it's a beautiful marriage for me,
It's
right?
beautiful.
It's a
Right.
beautiful marriage for me, absolutely.
And Jay-Z. Jay-Z doesn't have his own
And
cigar
Jay Z,
brand,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
Jay-Z does smoke cigars as
Does
well.
smoke cigars, yeah. So that would be cool too. And again, it'd be like to tell people I smoke with Jigga. So I mean,
Hey,
right?
I'm trying
Right?
to
So
yeah,
right, you can't beat that, right?
can't beat it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, Lady Cigarillo, it has been a absolute pleasure having you on this show.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so
having me.
much for coming and showing love and talking about, the events and your passion for cigars.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Um,
having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Is there how can people find you on online, and do you
Well,
have any brands that you want to promote?
I do. I do. So on IG, I'm Lady Cigarillo. So that's Lady underscore Cigarillo. Facebook is just Lady Cigarillo. I do have a website. However, I have it under construction right now. But I sell like t-shirts, 5 panel hats, mugs with my logo on it. I'm going to have soon some crew neck sweatshirts soon. They're going to be under pre-order, so I should actually get this website. I've been meaning to work on it. I just want to I have it up, but I was like, I don't like the look of it. I got to change it. So, but outside of that, I mean, if anybody wants to ever purchase anything, they can still just hit me up in a DM and work things out that way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just got a few things that I like, and I should put some cigar things on there, but it's just a little bit of apparel. But it's more of a lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's
It's a
not.
lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not a clothing brand of that kind at all. So,
Right.
so it's just if you dig it, you dig it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you,
Let,
Eddie.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the show. Please follow me on all platforms at Music and Cigars. Thank y'all for tuning in, and y'all enjoy your night.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Music and Cigar Podcast Show. Please visit musicandcigars.com to receive notifications on our next show, exclusive offers, share your thoughts of the show, or to also share the cigar that you like to smoke when you vibe in the music. Please follow us on all social media platforms at Music and Cigars. Until next time, brother and sister of the leaf, peace.